Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgements, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone, and the meta has changed. 3 of the best decks in Marvel Snap, probably 4 now that I think of it, are completely different. They are utterly brutalized by this OTA. The changes have gone live. Welcome to a brand new Marvel Snap. But before we go any further with this new Marvel Snap, I'm going to invite you to hit that sub button, hit that like, hit that comment. We are giving you 15 OTA decks. That's more than anyone else. I promise you, these are the best OTA decks you are going to find absolutely anywhere. We bring you at least 3 new decks every single weekday. We did another video this morning. We do videos 6 days a week and a podcast on that off day. More Marvel Snap content than anyone. We are also in the process of our season pass giveaway. We're giving away well over 15. I think we're up to like 25, something silly. Season passes for the Hope Summers Avengers vs. X-Men season. All you have to do is sub and then like and comment on any video from 226 to 38. Every single video, including this one, a comment is a potential chance to win. Every video will have its own winner picked from the comments, so leave a comment. There's also another version of this giveaway going on Twitter, and you can find us on you can find us on Twitter at SnapJudgeCast over there, and that link to that is in the description to this video. More to come. Like the Snap Judgments League, this is your last chance to join. This is a league of over 200 people. You'll be playing 1 game a week in a pod of about 30. Winner of each pod gets a season pass and put into a grand prize single elimination league. If you'd like to participate, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/snapjudgments. It's open to all $1 patrons. That is, it is a Patreon perk for all $1 patrons. The only reason we're charged this dollar is so I don't take a complete bath and lose an absolute ton of money on this league. But we're looking to keep this league going and start like consistent tournaments for Marvel Snap, so please make sure you check that out. This is again your last chance to join. The league starts on March 2nd. All right, the balance patch is through the roof. Let's do it. We've got Darkhawk from a 4-0 to a 5-4. Wow. Buy to like 7 meta decks. We'll talk about what those are throughout the video, but buy to like 7 meta decks. Darkhawk wanted to be played with a lot of 5-cost cards, and Darkhawk has always, literally since almost the beginning, been married to Zabu, and now neither of those things are true. And I think that the card is now just a different card. This is much closer to Devil Dinosaur than Darkhawk of the past, and it is going to be crazy different. We've got Forge, who's now back to his original stat line, a 2-2, which means he's out of Destroy. I mean, in Destroy, he's just basically worse than Hulkbuster now, right? So you always run Hulkbuster and basically never run Forge. He's out of Bounce. Bounce doesn't want a 2-drop. Bounce wants a 1-drop. Forge is a different card, a way worse card. Lockjaw, the scourge of the meta in Thanos Lockjaw and Hela Lockjaw, from 3-2 to 4-5. That's much better stats, but you lose a whole turn. Unless you have a 0-cost card, it's going to be really hard to play Lockjaw and get more than 1 or 2 extra cards from him. Does that change every deck for Lockjaw or just some of them? Does Thanos still live? Does Hela still live? We're going to look at that throughout the video. Adam Warlock is now from a 2-0 to a 5-4. Not sure that matters, but we still have a couple Adam Warlock decks to try to see if we can make it matter. AntMan gets a really strict buff from a 1-1 that gets +3 if you fill the location to now +4. This is just like the game has gotten more powerful, largely thanks to the Shang-Chi change. Like a lot of this is the Shang-Chi change, but a lot of other cards got 1 more power, so AntMan joins them getting 1 more power. This, I think, is going to be secretly one of the bigger changes. America Chavez becomes a 1-2 to separate her from Forge. I don't know, I got a deck for her, I'm not sure it matters. Swordmaster, I have a really cool, weird deck for that I want to try. I'm pretty sure that making him a 3-7 still means he's bad. If he were a 3-8, I'd start to consider him, but at a 3-7, I think he's probably still bad. And then we have Vulture, who now gets +6 power instead of +5 when he moves, which will add up really quickly. It's basically an extra Vulture if you can move it 3 times. We had a great Vulture deck this morning that we're going to look at again. I think it gets better because Vulture's better and a lot of the natural predators to the deck got worse. I think we have 2 meta decks for you that no one's going to be playing today except you from watching this video. One for Vulture, one for AntMan. Let's go. First, we're going to talk about Lockjaw because Lockjaw was the absolute scourge of the meta. As a 2-3, Lockjaw basically said, the game basically said, we're going to get rid of all the powerful early plays. I talked about this morning. All the powerful early plays are gone, right? Not there yet. All the powerful early plays are gone. We don't have a Kitty. We don't have an Angela. We don't have a really powerful early Bishop. We don't have all these things that you could do early to like punish you if you were missing your Lockjaw. We want to make powerful 6-drops. Lockjaw lets you cheat out your powerful 6-drops and you're not punished when you miss. So Lockjaw became the meta in both Hela and Thanos decks, and now it's significantly harder to play. Now, I think Thanos is probably fine and still runs him. You'll see why in the deck, but ultimately, what Thanos can do is it can run Time Stone and Psylocke, and it can say, I'm either going to go Lockjaw Stone on turn 4, or I'm going to go Professor X on turn 4, or Vision on turn 4. And any of those are still powerful enough to be extremely strong and extremely worth it. You lose a little bit of potential that way, but honestly, not all that much. What you really lose is the Lockjaw on 3 play. And then you would Stone on 4, get something big, and then you'd be able to go like Scar or... Actually, I guess you could still do that. You can still spend your turn 5 going Stone and Scar if you got lucky with an early big power play, or Stone and Cull and get just a lot of power on the board. So I think that Lockjaw's probably gone for most Hela decks. Hela decks don't really want to lose the tempo. They can't just wait till turn 4 to start doing stuff, and they can't really always risk the discard. But I think Hela is fine because Corvus Glaive just came out, and we've already seen extremely successful ramp Hela decks that work without Lockjaw. So I think we just go back to those, and we may have one other weird place to try Lockjaw. I'm not sure if this works, but I think it's worth examining either way. Because, hey, if Lockjaw costs 4, well, then Zabu is a card. Alright, so FAK Crazy is the current #1 player on the Infinite leaderboard, or at least was when I checked earlier. Just dominated their way through the Johnson Cup. This is what, in my opinion, was before the OTA, and I know it says Lockjaw's a 3-2. It takes a while for all the sites to update that and show Lockjaw as a 4-5. Cool. So Lockjaw's a 4-5. Let's pretend Lockjaw's a 4-5. We're all good, right? This deck had Wave for Psylocke. Now it just runs Psylocke, and it does that thing I said earlier. It spends turn 3 going either Kyera or Psylocke or Time Stone. And if you can go Psylocke or Time Stone, or you can go Psylocke or Time Stone on turn 2 and still get Lockjaw out on 3, right? And then your play patterns are ultimately the same. All that's really changed is your early game. He'll be a little less consistent, but not terribly. Professor X is still absolutely stellar. If you on turn 3 snap and then play Psylocke or Time Stone, then they have to try and play around Professor X and Lockjaw, and that's extremely difficult. At that point, Hela decks are dead. You're taking a 50-50 on Goliath, and Blob can get so big that even Goliath can't compete, and so on. Blob can get so big that even Hela can't compete, and so on. This is, again, in my opinion, the best deck in the game, and one you should all be playing if you have the cards. It is an expensive deck. Alright, Den has this discard combo that we talked about yesterday. This is the only place I think that Hela still wants Lockjaw, and that is specifically because of Swarm. It can spend, it has the ramp, obviously, of Corvus, and the ramp of Corvus gives you a chance to still play the game without Lockjaw, or gives you the extra energy to get a Lockjaw out on turn 4 without any terrible misses. But also, Colleen Wing and Corvus hitting a Swarm allow you to go Lockjaw into Swarm immediately, and if like the trick to playing Lockjaw on 4, I think is going to be being able to play a card into him right away, so that you're still getting about the same value. Because when you played Lockjaw on 3, you very rarely played a card into it. So 4 is the first turn you were really getting cards into Lockjaw, so you want to do that now, and I think Swarm still does that. We covered this deck in a lot of detail this morning. Nothing about it has changed. Alright, we covered this deck on Monday. This is Safety's Hela Glaive. Again, there is no Lockjaw in this list. This is just a thing you can do now. For those of you who are enjoying Hela and want to keep playing Hela, this deck has the Hela playline, which is obviously just discard stuff, bring it back with Hela. You have Lady Sif and Corvus for that. It has the Black Knight playline, which is Black Knight, discard like an Infinite or whatever. play the shard and then you're using Hela as sort of like a mini Ghost Rider type thing, or you can just play some other big stuff and be totally fine and win the game. Or you can win through going Corvus and then skipping turn 5 and then playing both She-Hulk and Infinite on turn 6, because Corvus will mean you'll have the full 6 energy. She-Hulk will be free because you'll actually have 1 extra energy on turn 6 with that play. So I think that is the real ways you can play these decks right now, and this is extremely powerful. One of the best things you can do in Marvel Snap. Giganto is a big card that we're not sure what that could be. That might want to be Proximate, might want to be lots of different cards. Okay. I went and found the best Hela that didn't run Lockjaw right now, and this is it. It's the Sandman ramp one. I believe, could be wrong, that this is Regis Kilbin's version. Regis has sort of been Kilbining it lately. Okay, please don't leave. I'm sorry, I won't make any more bad puns. But this is another Hela that's not running Lockjaw, that is running Sandman, and I think the lack of Lockjaw is going to mean that a lot of people are trying to play more cards in. So Sandman gets a good bit better, and this deck takes advantage of having Corvus and Electro. You can win one of 2 ways here. Again, you can either go Corvus or Electro into Sandman, then you can do the Doom Odin thing, or you can discard some big stuff with Corvus, and then you can bring it back with Hela. Alright, finally, this one is my weird brew that I think I like. I'm not sure if I want Sunspot in this spot or if I want Spider-Ham, but the Sunspot play means that I can consider running Corvus here, and then go that way. But basically, I can go Thor, Beta Ray, Jane here, and that should be fine. I don't have to do both, though, is the trick, right? If I go Zabu, I can go either Thor Lockjaw or Beta Ray Lockjaw. Then I can still play the Jane and get all my shenanigans going. I also have Wasp as an extra thing to go into Lockjaw, and I should be able to take advantage of having the Evolved Hulk, the Evolved She-Hulk, and the Evolved Infinite here. Also, sometimes I'm going to whiff on things, and She-Hulk is just a card that gets nice and cheap for me. I want to be able to play a straight game, so I have Zabu, so I can go Zabu into Beta Ray Bill, and then I can just play regular tempo good cards for a while and be totally fine, right? I like this deck a lot. I think that this might be a meta deck. This might be the new way to play High Evolutionary. Again, I have no idea if Sunspot wants to be here, and I'd really, 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 really like to fit Corvus Glaive here, but you don't get everything. All right. Darkhawk as a 5/4. This is the big one to me. In my personal opinion, this is an even bigger change than Lockjaw, because Lockjaw has been in the meta for the last month, but Darkhawk has been in the meta for the last year. And I think this fundamentally changes Darkhawk as a card in basically every way. So now Darkhawk doesn't go in the same deck as Leech, Jane Foster, Nihilus, Iron Man, and Black Swan. You don't have a way to really make Darkhawk cheaper, right? Darkhawk as a 5 cost 5 is the most awkward cost slot in the game as a general rule, and now Darkhawk as a 5 means that if you're playing Darkhawk on 6, you're only playing a 1-drop, and that's usually not going to be good enough. That means you're not playing Darkhawk with Leech. You want to play Darkhawk on 5 if you're playing Darkhawk. So you're not playing Darkhawk with Leech, Jane Foster, Nihilus, Iron Man, or Black Swan, which are the other cards that you would really like to play on turn 5. That sucks. That royally sucks, right? It also separates it from Zabu and Ravonna. It doesn't work with Ravonna or Zabu anymore, so those cards are gone from Darkhawk decks. Also, Darkhawk was in a lot of negative decks, particularly the negative decks that ran Jane Foster to try and get all their zeros out. Well, Darkhawk wouldn't be a 0 and doesn't go in that list. So it's still a lot of power, as in, even without putting any cards in deck, opponents usually have 3 cards left in their deck, which makes Darkhawk a powerful 5/10. 1 Korg makes it a 5/12. If you do the Korg and Rock Slide, it's a 5/16. This is, again, some of the more powerful stuff in the game, so it's still worth playing, but it's no longer as easy. It's no longer an archetype that mixes in particular with other archetypes. The Darkhawk package used to work with the Thor's package and the Annihilus package extremely well in particular, and the Bounce package with Black Swan, it doesn't work with those other packages anymore, because all those packages now smash into each other on turn 5. All right, the first Darkhawk list I found that worked. This was fairly similar to a Leechhawk. I'm not sure if it still wants Shadow King or not. Remember, Darkhawk has a 5/4 here. My gut says that I want Shadow King to be Mystique, because Mystique is still really good in these decks, and Mystique can copy Ms. Marvel just fine. this is the closest thing to the original Darkhawk deck, right? You can still go Darkhawk into Doctor Doom. You can still hit Darkhawk with Iron Lad just fine. You can do all the other good stuff that you would do with Darkhawk in this list. And what you really lose is the ability to play Darkhawk and another thing on the last turn. So Darkhawk has to come out a turn early, which makes him a bigger Shang target. But so be it. Which is why I also like this one. In this list, you have armor to protect your Darkhawk and Cull. I really want to fit one more big thing in here so I can also run Scar. That's probably a different build. That'll be something I work on going forward. Hey, Gunny, I know you're watching. Big Dumb Idiots, the Darkhawk version. Seems like a thing, right? This, again, has 1,000,004s. It's got armor. You basically go wide with Omega Red and Ms. Marvel and Doom, and you go tall with Cull and Darkhawk, and you should be able to win a fair amount of games. Nightcrawler helps you get around. This is the Nerfed version, I believe, and it should be very, very good. So I think that this version of this deck is probably around as good as it used to be. A lot of the problem for me personally is the 3 and 2 turn 5 play was so strong for these Darkhawk decks, and now that's gone. This is a new card. Darkhawk feels more like Devil Dinosaur, so start looking at it where you would look at Devil Dinosaur. And yes, I know that means a Thanos build, but like, that builds itself, right? It's literally just like, go back to that other Thanos build, don't run Rock Slide, throw the 3 Darkhawk cards in and have a great day. It's fine, it'll be fine. But I think there's some more to do with Darkhawk. I just think it's almost infinitely worse card. It was one of the best cards in the game, and now I think it's a very good card, but no longer a great one at all. All right, Forge is a 2/2. This is where it started, and it was completely unplayed. They made it give +3 as a 2, and then that didn't work, and then they made it a 2/1, and that didn't work, and then they made it a 1 +2, and then it went into a billion bounce decks, and it was great. And now it's back to normal. So he has just gone from Destroy, because Destroy doesn't want a 2-drop, from Phoenix, because Phoenix really doesn't want him to 2-drop. He's gone from Move Decks. Phoenix is the one that I think is most hurt, by the way. Phoenix or Bounce. He's gone from Move Decks, because Move Decks that wanted him on Human Torch needed him to cost 1. And Bounce decks don't want a 2-drop, so he's just gone. I think the only home he has left is Patriot decks, but otherwise he's a dead card that is gone from the meta. He went from one of the most played cards to one of the least, and again, pretend he's a 2/2 for this. Cozy played this and almost won. It was a very close game against the eventual winners of the pod in the Johnson Cup, in the 3 versus 3 tournament, and barely lost. This is a fantastic deck. As far as I'm aware, this is a Cozy original. If I'm wrong, someone can correct me. But for the time being, I'm crediting Cozy for this list. And again, I'm perfectly happy to make a correction if otherwise stated. Forge here is basically Forge Brood Supergiant, and that playline still stays. It still matters. It's still great. Also, Forge Mr. Sinister Swordman, but you get the idea. That playline is why Forge is in this deck. And look, that's a good enough reason for him here. And I don't think that he changes here. America Chavez gets changed because Forge got changed. Having a 2/3 that buffs the top when you have a 2/2 that buffs the next card you play is just really similar design space. So America Chavez keeps the +2 but becomes a 1/2, which makes her a 1/4, which is decent stats even if she's still nowhere near the omnipresent meta card that she was prior. So she's potentially either a replacement card in Zoo. She doesn't she's not good enough to replace I don't know, Titania or whatever in a Zoo deck. But if you're missing Martyr or something, then you can throw her in and she'll be fine, probably, maybe. So this is the first place I thought of for her. I think she's still got a home in the Patriot Surfer list. This is a more standard version of the list than the previous one we were talking about. This is the version that first started taking the meta by storm. This was like the Sanatora Yasui version. That was one of the best decks in the game for a while over the summer. America Chavez was obviously a 6/9 in that deck, but hey, America Chavez here, along with Forge, it's just an extra chance to hit a card that it really matters. She's got numerous great targets here, from Brood to Absorb Man to Iron Man to Iron Lad. So any of those are hits you're perfectly happy to make with America Chavez, and because you're perfectly happy to make those hits with America Chavez, she makes some sense in this deck. Is she the best card for this deck? Probably not, but you can play her on 1 when you have nothing else to do or when you have an extra energy, and that has some value. All right, Adam Warlock as a 5/4. This is about to get janky, fair warning. Adam Warlock had no home to begin with. He had a combo with Ravona and an occasional, like, where you would play him on turn 3 with Ebony Maw and try and get a draw or two off. Those are gone. Those changes are obviously gone with him as a 5/4. They don't want to make him a 4. They probably should have made him a 4 because they don't want him to be the Zabu and be too strong. Sorry, I get late. All right, but his 5/4 ness means that you're very rarely going to get more than one draw from him unless you're running magic. So I decided to put him in a deck with magic. This is Cerebro 4. All the 3s here get +2 from Surfer and become 4s, which means they're further buffed by Cerebro to 6s, and that's great. That's a lot of extra power on those cards. Ms. Marvel as a moving filler here. That is Luke Cage's cost, which is why I thought of this. Do you really want to play Adam Warlock here? Probably not. Honestly, this seems like it doesn't super duper want Adam Warlock. But like, hey, if you've got Medusa out and you didn't see Cerebro not Medusa, Magic out and you didn't see Cerebro, then Adam Warlock is a reasonable play on turn 5, right? You go Magic and you're just like, crap, I need Cerebro or Surfer. You now have an extra turn to draw them thanks to Warlock, or an extra turn to draw Sarah or whatever. And all these are powerful plays. And if he's a 4/6 or 4/7 or whatever the hell he is, then all of a sudden then he starts to be worth it again. All right, next up we have a negative version. I think he's almost guaranteed to be wrong here again. But like, hey, if you go Magic and you're just like, I have negative, but I didn't see Jane, right? And Jane, not Jane, excuse me. I didn't see Panther, Zola, or Null. Brain getting late again. I didn't see whatever card I really, really need for my combo, and I want to draw an extra negative card. Adam Warlock's a perfectly fine play. He could be a 4/5, so you could even go Zabu or Ravona into Mr. Negative into Adam Warlock if you drew up very luckily, and that would be an extremely powerful play line too. If not that, though, he's just a card to play when you have Magic and you're looking for more pieces. Swordmaster. Ready? Swordmaster had nothing then or now, but hey, I threw this together. I found a version of this that was much stranger on Untapped, and then I was like, okay, so how do we make this like make some sense? And basically, this is what I came up with. Cerebro and Onslaught together, right, is basically the goal here. Proxima would be free. You can get 2 copies of that with Moon Knight. Swordmaster can help you get the Proxima out of your hand eventually. You can play a bunch of stuff behind Invisible Woman like Ebony Maw without dealing with its downside. And Magic is here just because, Lord, you're going to need an extra turn for this deck if anything good is going to happen. But Corvus gives you extra energy, extra turns, extra energy is stellar. Having turn 6 with 7 energy and turn 7 with 8 energy seems like it's probably pretty good in Marvel Snap. I really wanted Iron Man, but I felt like the deck was getting too expensive, and I really wanted Moon Girl to work, so here we are. But Iron Man replaced Green Goblin if you needed it, because Iron Man plus Onslaught is obviously completely freaking insane. Alright, AntMan. Ready? He's just a little better at his job, and this is the deck that I care about. I guess I care about the other deck, but this is the deck I care about. This has been one of my favorite decks in Marvel Snap. I've been playing it all week. Our friend Phil Woodard made this. We've got a ton of people in the comments to Sunday's video, I believe it was Sunday, telling us they hit infinite with this exact list, that they flew up at this exact list. This list just got so freaking much better. What basically you do is you play Sunspot, and then you play Electra if you need to snipe a 1, and otherwise you don't play 1s until turn 6. You just play Bishop and Khazar, and then you go Black Swan on turn 5, and then you drop everything on turn 6. And because you're dropping everything on turn 6, you can make sure Titania is the last thing played, so she's just a 1/5 or 1/6 with Khazar. That doesn't move. Strong Guy becomes a 3/9 because Blade lets you get rid of the last card in your hand, and then you just have 3 1/5s, right? That's 15 power for 0 with Black Swan, which seems like it's probably pretty freaking good. I love this deck. I think that this buff is legitimate here, and this is a better deck than it was before the change was made by a fair amount, largely because also a lot of its predators are gone. I think this is a legit place to be. All right, next up we have Thanos. This is fairly similar to the last deck. You have to play more ones here, but you're fine. This is basically built around Valkyrie and Spectrum. You're trying to get a bunch of ongoing and a bunch of power all over the board, and as you do so, you buff it with Valkyrie slash Spectrum, slash Blue Marvel, slash Khazar, and then you win the game of Marvel Snap. Cull Obsidian is just a nice big thing you can do in this deck. It's not like the same thing, but it's a powerful deck, and again, we'll have some space for new Thanos decks. I don't want to overstuff this video with Thanos decks, but I feel like this one's cool enough, and I really want to play Squirrel Girl. So, like, I hope that this is great, and this is a cool place to start with it. It's got both the AntMan, and it's got the Thanos that was changed, and so it should be good. And this seems like a good home for Black Swan. All right, Vulture. Is Vulture the last one? I think Vulture's the last one. Vulture's a little better. We did this deck this morning. This is Shuri Enjoyer's deck. It's got a super high win rate. It was, as of yesterday's recording, I haven't looked again yet, the number 16 ranked deck in Marvel Snap, as in Shuri Enjoyer, a brilliant player, got up to 16 with it. Check this morning's video if you want to know how to play it. But hey, a slightly better Vulture makes a slightly better deck. So a deck that was already number 16 in Marvel Snap just got a buff. All right, certain tiers of our support come with thanks on. Certain tiers of support come with thanks on air. We've got Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, TG Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, Fothor Newman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., Jane Avery, JD McDonaldino, Aquila Placido, Caretix Lee, Koi Ray, Doku, Philip Ratkovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins, Rob Silverman, Robert Riven, The Bizza, J Bussy, X-Force V, Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist, Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Models, Louis Antunes, Matt Conduit, Matt H, Mikey Hijinks, No Flex, Ocularis, Pretty Chill, Seamus, Spike Jones, Two Ties, The Pirate King Tucker, The Homie Minute, and of course, Gunny T. All right, that's it. This OTA completely changed the meta. Best decks in the game prior were Destroy, Lost Forge, just lost it. Hela, don't know if it works with Lockjaw, would be surprised if it did. The Darkhawk list, the 1,000 different variations of Darkhawk list, no thank you. And then we had Thanos, Lockjaw, and I'm curious how much that's changed, because my gut is that that is now far and away the best deck, and they're going to have to do something much more to it. Because I think that deck might have actually just like gotten better because all of its predators are gone. I hope I'm wrong. Let's see. If you want to join the league, check the Patreon, sub, help us out. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.